let's go. So welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Obviously, big match, first match back after international break. Leicester City take on Chelsea. Enzo Maresca's Chelsea. Really massive match tomorrow.
Yeah, can't wait for my my weekend to be over after half two tomorrow afternoon. So, hopefully we can get a win. Hopefully we can get a draw. Hopefully we can get at least a point. But it's going to be a lot harder now with a lot of the injuries we've seen that's come out in the last couple of days. So
yeah. I mean, like you said, there's been a few this week that we probably could have done without. You know, if it's not Fatu that's injured, it's then Ayew, who could have filled his spot. So you really are grasping at who's going to get into this team. So obviously we're going to have two very different teams to the last match against. I can't remember who played now. Who was it? The last one, Man U. That's it. So yeah, really kick us off.
Okay, so in goal, there's only one man for the job, isn't there? Hermanson. Realistically, probably been the man of the best player of the season, realistically, other than Buonanotte, and you'll see adverts here, but I'm gonna have to keep stopping them. But yeah, Hermanson is definitely in the squad, and like probably one of the key players that has stopped us from conceding more goals this season. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. The Hermanson, would go into my team as well. You know, there's no two ways about it. We've heard rumours, that obviously with Kasper's age creeping up on him, that he might be in there for number one spot for Denmark. So it's a no-brainer really, putting Hermanson back in there.
Yeah, going into the defence and Sam. Obviously, we've had a lot of goals going in recently through loads of different kind of key decisions where players are playing. But now it comes down to who do you think is our best, because against Chelsea and against a lot of these teams in the next 10 games or even 9 games, there's going to be a lot of big players coming against them. But for me, it's hard because I'm going for a back four because there's no chance we're playing a back three without Ricardo Pereira. So I'm going to go back to See, this is where I don't want to play with one or the other. I want to play with both, but I can't. I think I'm going to put a Coley and Faze in. I want to put Vestergaard in there, but I just don't think he slots in there, especially with there's not playing three at the back. So I'm going to go Faze and Coley, which I know you would probably say that's an accident waiting to happen in them two, but I think Coley's been all right since he's been in. I think he's been put out the last couple of games, but I think we've missed it. I think we've missed a bit of a.
It's good to obviously have these talks. It's hard to debate who's been good and who's bad when realistically the whole back four you can fault for a lot of errors. I mean, you can spread it across to the few games. I mean, Christensen for the Man U, goal, obviously at error. For the build up to that, and it's kind of thing where you say, well, who is the reliable one in the back four, and you can really pick at any of them, and it's none of them are being consistent enough. So again, I'm going to go with what I said last time. I think I did put Cody and Vestergaard back in there.
Okay.
Because again, I would just swap it around. They've had international break. Faisal and Coley, I believe. I'm not so sure Coley got much game time, but. I think we've got a lot of defensive players, and I think we could all agree that it hasn't been solid enough in the back. And I think the only way to change that realistically is to change the team.
Yeah.
And you can't really say two ways around it. If it's going to be Faisal and Coley, then from what you've seen in the opening, maybe I'm going to say 6-7 games of them starting. Maybe 2 of them they look solid, but the rest they both they made mistakes in the games. And I think when you've got, like I said, Vestergaard and Cody, who are both I would consider veterans of the Premier League, I think if you're going to have someone at the back that needs to be calm and do some defending work, I think it's those two for me. And if I was in Steve Cooper's position anyway, I think it's about now that you do change things up and start playing players a little bit different in those positions.
Yeah, I'm not going to fault you again. I get the point of that. I just think in my eyes they look a bit too slow together. I think if you play one of them, you've got to play one of the ones that I've picked from. But I completely see where the case of Cody at the moment, because he's not had much game time. I think the only thing I can remember of him is when he came on and absolutely fluffed a challenge. But I just don't know. I think when in my team, when my players have played well, they've looked decent. It's just when they don't have good games, that's when they really look awful. So you can either have a 2 out of 10 or a 7 or 8 out of 10. So
yeah, there's more. They're playing worse than they are better at the moment, which is the issue.
Yes. That is the issue.
I think they have looked okay in the games they have played well, but I'm not expecting much from Chelsea, really. I mean, I imagine you're not either. I can't imagine many fans are expecting much other than Maresca's coming back, so there might be a bit of, the blue-tinted specs on thinking, let's go and beat the old manager. But
Wait, let me see if I can find my blue glasses.
you got them at home.
Oh, they do say Rogers in, but there you go. Blue tinted glasses. That's from I don't know how many years ago.
Saying bring Enzo back soon, weren't they?
Yeah, probably. Right, let's get into the fullbacks then, Sam. There's a lot of controversy in the right back position, but at the moment he's our only option. He's our only option. So you go for it, mate. What do you reckon in the fullbacks positions?
Well, I mean, it's going to be Justin for right back again. To be fair to you, I think Justin solely hasn't made many. I would class as clear individual errors. I think maybe some of his decision making, in that final third, I'd say he's had some issues. We rewatched the Man U game, and was he pulled out of position? And the real fact is, well, you could blame Justin, but players like Samari who aren't man marking and tracking back into the box, and same with Ndidi who, allowed the header to go free. It's those things where they're not getting marked, and I know it's coming from the right hand side of Justin, where it's easily blamable that it's him, but I think when you watch it all, in the consecutive time frame of the ball getting up there to going into the net, there's a lot of players at fault, and we don't really have much choice, especially with Pereira being out now. So it is just Justin back in that spot, isn't it?
Yeah, most likely. Like I say, I'm trying to think of any other positions, any other players that can go in there, but I just can't at the moment. Dorker does say, will it be a 4-2-3-1? We've only picked this formation because it's the bog standard formation that if we don't switch to that more of an Enzo style of play, this is what we would play in the last. Well, we played this in the first 6 or 7 games, so I feel like this is probably what we are going to play in the next couple of games coming up. Charles just say Calamity Phase is garbage. Again, I think when he's on form, I think he's decent. I think that Bournemouth game when we won, I thought he got given the captain when Vardy came off, and he just showed how well he can play. But
I think my biggest issue with Fies, and you know what I'm going to say, is the hot-headedness and I love to say that about him because I think it's just true. I think a lot of his issues come from the issues that he creates on the pitch. You see where he makes defensive errors. And his first instinct isn't to, build the players back up. It's to blame other people. And it's like, that's not something you should have in your team. So when he was first here in the Premier League 2 seasons ago now, I get that season was a stressful season where we shouldn't have been in that position. But, obviously we had a team that was set up to fight for top 8, not to get relegated 2 seasons ago. But even in that season, he showed that he could be hot-headed. And I just think when we start to lose, his head goes. And it's going to be one of those seasons where if we go 1 or 2 goals down, especially against some of these bigger clubs like Chelsea, his leadership in that back four, especially as what you would probably consider a experienced player in that back four at the moment. I don't like it. I don't like the way his attitude is when he's playing.
No, I get you. Before we move into the lap up, we'll get one more comment up. Scarla here does say, really not looking forward to this game. Could be massacre, but it could be a Maresca. It could be a Maresca. It could be a Maresca. It could be the Maresca madness, mate.
Not quite hit the nail in the head with that one, but I can see what you're doing.
Yeah. Go on then, mate. Left back. Is there any other option over there? Maybe go Luke Thomas, mate. Maybe go Luke Thomas.
Well, you could go Luke Thomas, and I quite like Luke Thomas as a player. I think when he came into a good team, he did well, and obviously that you can see the case for a lot of players like that. I think the issue with Luke Thomas is his confidence has just been shot down. He went from playing in a Premier League team to going out on loan. I believe when we got relegated in the Championship, didn't he, to Sheffield United, and they slaughtered him for how he did. And then he obviously went to Borough as well, I think in January in that season. And I think his confidence is really
It was a fact of when we got relegated, he went back up to the Premier League when we were saying that year he wasn't good enough for the Premier League and we wanted to give him a loan in the Championship.
I think we could have. Yeah, you're probably right with that one, but. It's going to be Christensen again. His error against Man United, in all fairness, I think was probably the first error I've seen him do. so far this season, like an actual error which led to a goal. So I think he comes back into the team, and I'm hoping anyway that I take it you're doing the same as well.
Yeah,
I'm hoping with that team that I've put in, there's just a bit more calmness at the back, because Chelsea, I mean, we all know how they're going to play, because Enzo Maresca is going to play them in that defensive, slow build-up, counter-attacking, possession on the ball football. And if there's anything that the players can do, it's that they should know how to counter that. If Steve Cooper and the players have any common sense of being Maresca's, playing with Maresca last year, it's got to be, okay, so how do you counter this football? And the real thing is let them pass it around, get into our box, and then Yomper counter-attack on them.
Yeah, well, as we're obviously going up the pitch, I've just been looking at the players we can pick from, because we know there's quite a few injuries at the moment. But we're moving to a spot that isn't probably injury prone as much, and that is the midfield. Sam, what is your first 2 picks for the midfield?
I think it depends on the system you want to play and how defensive you want to be. I think for me, I'm going to play with one defensive midfielder, so I'm going to push up one of the players. And I think for me, that's got to be Skip. I think he has to, because he's good at winning the ball back and holding it. So I'm surprised that he's not had as much game time as in the past few games. I feel like he's been playing fine, and then he gets dropped. I'm not really sure why. So he's going to be my lone defensive mid. And this is probably purely based on where's the attacking threats coming from with a lot of our key players, like Fatu, who had for some parts of the Man U game, did look very creative. So, and obviously him being out for the whole season is going to be a block to the, it's going to be a massive knock, to the creative side of where, especially on the wingers. So that's what I'm going to do anyway. I'm going to put Skip in my defensive mid role, and then I'll let you decide, because I need to think about what I'm doing with the other 4 spots or 5 spots.
This is difficult, because I get what you're saying, because we've lost a lot of our threat in the attacking options. You might need an extra man in there to support you there, which I kind of see that. So I probably will go with you on that. But then I'd say maybe against someone like Chelsea, who know how to stop most sort of systems that you could play, I don't know if it would work. But you've got to try something. There's no point going into the game not trying to win.
You could look at it as well. I didn't really think about it, but looking back at it, I think you can look at that. If you have more attacking players higher up the pitch, you know that they're going to pass it around the back, because that's how we played, and that's how Enzo's playing Chelsea. And, they're doing fairly well, aren't they, at the moment? Chelsea having a good start to the season. I think, some of this counter-attacking football and trying to put them under pressure whilst they're passing around the back is going to be the ways that we get something out of the game, put them under pressure. Because if we let them play their game, a bit like last season, when teams like Swansea let us play our game, we kind of just, pummeled them. We had all the possession, we had all the shots, and we had all the goals. And I feel like if we did that to Chelsea, if we let them have all the possession, they're the ones that are going to go and create the chances.
You need to snap the ball off them. That's the main thing, and maybe that's where you do have the attacking threat up top.
I think so. I think it is time for Cooper to make some changes. And, I think one thing that a lot of fans, myself especially, thought that he would do at the start of the season is when he comes in, is he's good at changing it around and mixing things up. In the Man U game, it was quite disappointing from Cooper, because I thought up until then, we have managed to come back into games like Southampton and a few of the other ones where we've been 1 or 2-0 down, and we do come back and get a point or a win. But I think against Man U, that was real Rodgers ball. So I think something needs to change. If I see a fairly similar lineup to the Man U one, in some aspects of how we're playing, I think, it's not really going in the right direction.
I think before I do say why I've put Winks in there, I think that to play against Chelsea, you can't let them have the ball. If you let them have the ball, they're going to take you out. Because
I think they can have the ball. You just have to be sensible with where they have the ball, because if they're attacking us,
around you easy. If you go for someone, they're just going to get around you. Like
I think you have to play it smart against a team that obviously has a lot of tactical reasons behind the decision, like we did last year. We had a lot of good players with a lot of what most fans would consider very key and enforced tactical reasoning behind what they're doing. They pass it around the back to suck the strikers in and the attacking play so they can break away quick. And we saw how well that worked against us how well that works for us against teams like Rotherham, because their obviously capability isn't as good. But obviously, it's now 180. We're the team that, if we get sucked in against a team like Chelsea into that style, they're gonna score goals against us.
Yeah. So yeah, the reason I picked Winks in there is because I get the point of Skip. I think he's probably better on the ball and a better box-to-box player. But if we are having a sole man in the midfield, I think from like last season, I think we need that sort of more controlled head on the ball. I think he win that ball back instead of being, maybe Skip could do that, but I've just not seen him on his own before, and I know that Winks can do that on his own. So I think that's why I picked him. But I get the point to Skip, because when I've seen him play, I have seen him do well.
Yeah, Winks is going in my team, by the way.
Okay.
But he's going as an attacking mid because I think he's probably the next best option behind Buonanotte, who's obviously suspended for this game. So I'm having two attacking mids, and Winks is one of them. I think my main reason behind that is Ndidi's been okay so far in what he's done, but I think in the past, if you're judging it over the whole 11 games played so far, the past 4 games he's been quite obsolete and a bit invisible.
Yeah.
And I think Winks is, he offers quite a lot of creativity. That's a funny ad. What's going on there? He offers quite a lot of creativity, I think, going forward. And we saw that quite a lot last year, where he was allowed to push up quite higher up the pitch. And I think he's been I think what I would consider maybe a bit like Tielemans was, where he sat back in the defensive midfield. We all knew that wasn't really his strong suit, and Tielemans was way better at being that central mid that got the ball forward and didn't sit back. So I'm putting Winks in attacking mid.
I do see that, and I'm gonna ask you now for that other midfielder option. There is obviously Buonanotte is out, so he cannot play, not for injury but for suspension. Who is your other man? Because I think there's only one man I'd say that kind of takes Buonanotte's place in my eyes, but that's maybe depending on how highly you rate him.
Yeah, obviously we're on about El Khanous. I think obviously he needs some time to settle, and if he's a player that's been signed for the future, it's a stupid decision if it was, because the future of Leicester City is very uncertain if we get relegated. That's it's not a smartest move if it is a player signed for.
Also says is a space for Alves this week. I don't.
No. But again, I know that people are trying to force Alves into the team, but he's never played. He needs to go on loan to a Championship club at best, League One, Championship, and get some real game time, because you'll be chucking him in the deep end. And I guess you'd say if we've got no other options, maybe shove him in there and try him out. I think Alves has maybe played once or twice in a cup competition, and he ain't done much, to be honest.
When he came on, we lost through.
I know it's Man U, but yeah, I don't think Alves is the right person really for us to. I think you need those more experienced players, and I still don't think El Khanous is going to be the right person for Chelsea. And I'm going to put Ndidi in there because purely just because I am going to go with experience over, the younger players. I think El Khanous has started a few games. He started the Man U in the cup, and I think he played in Man U as well in the league. And I've just not seen him do anything really personally. And I know a few fans might be like, "Where's the decisions?" And that it's obviously not as attacking as you'd like it to be. But El Khanous hasn't convinced me. I think Ndidi's been more convincing to me in that role than he has so far. So.
I think the moment you said Ndidi, I was looking at that midfield and I'm thinking, Christ, where's this creativity going to come from?
Yeah, I know. I know that it is struggling for creativity, but El Khanous doesn't offer much creativity so far. As much as if he's a creative midfielder, which we think he should be, he's not offering as much as what I would like to see. I'm really torn between two minds because I could play a completely different team. I could play XYZ. You can say whoever. At the end of the day, it's Chelsea, and the result's going to be what it's going to be. So,
yeah. I'm going to put my two in, who are going to be the attacking midfielders as well. Soumare on one wing, one left, and El Khanous on the other. I think. This is always going to be a hard game for whoever we play now. Like I say, your midfield or my midfield. I think if we're going to lose, you go out losing fighting. You try your hardest. If you've got an attacking minded team and you lose 3 or 4-0, we might have lost 3 or 4-0 either way, even if you put a defensive minded team out there. So for me, go out, try and get at least a goal or two, and maybe
I,
clinch it. I don't know, but I think that for me is way more creative. Even if
I guess
we've not seen much, I
yeah.
think I could say that we've got a bit more creativity in them two than we have with your two. Not this. I know your team is probably safer to not concede as many goals. I know that.
I think I hear what you say. Obviously, you're going on the premise of they could do something. I guess I'm more going on the premise of I know what Winks and Ndidi can do at the very least, and I know that mine is fairly defensive, but to me, El Khanous hasn't done enough, and Samari isn't attacking for me either. I mean, I know he's probably considered a box-to-box midfielder, but I've not seen him do that much apart from the lead-up goal in Ipswich. I've not seen him do anything other than that. So, I mean, he doesn't, again, like I said, there's a lot of options in midfield. There's a lot of defensive-minded options in midfielder. So it's a tough one on how we do be creative, and it does show you the lack of depth in that creativity we have, especially with the players injured.
Yeah,
but,
well, I'm
you
looking into this team now in your forwards, and I'm struggling, mate. I am struggling. Because on that right-hand side, people are going to say, I think someone said here, Curtis, I think we've got to stick Casey on that side if Fatu's injured for the season. I'm trying to work out ways to say that it doesn't have to be that case, because I'm not saying Casey's not good enough, but I don't think he's the quality we need. Whereas the player I'm going to put in there, you're going to thinking, if I'm saying that about Casey, how the hell am I saying it about this guy? But what is your wingers then, mate? Because it's tough.
I think if you look at it in the aspect of, well, the wingers are very scarce, don't play wingers. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to have wingers. I'm going to have Mavididi as my left forward, so shove him up there above Winks and just to the left.
Never seen this.
Yeah, I'm changing things up. You know,
I've never seen this formation.
It's a random formation. It's what I'm thinking off the top of my head. You know,
Mavididi.
Hey, who knows? Just sure, why not? He can go up there. I'm just doing it randomly. Is Daka back fit? Yeah. Is Daka back fit? Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Shove him on the right forward. He'll do there. Let's put him in there. And is Vardy back fit?
He's debatable, but
we'll put him back in my team and we'll see. If not, then it'll have to be Edward.
Have you just got to the point now where you're just gone like, yeah, I'm just done with this?
Do you know what? We've changed every week. We've changed formation. Let's try something like that. It looks like a pool table, that does. Hey, that look. Hey, if you wanted attacking, there's your attacking team. Three strikers, pretty much.
I get it. But
honestly, I don't know what else do you do against someone like Chelsea when your players are injured and the creativity is just dead. We don't have any creativity when you've got all these players out injured. I'd rather play something like that and actually just be like, you know what, F it, let's just try something different.
Do you know what? I will. You've took my right winger out, mate. You took my right winger out because I was saying about how Casey's not good enough, but from what we've seen about Daka, I'm sorry, Daka's going in that right side because if there's any,
I'm not the only one then there.
If there's any threat, he's going to come from him for me, but pace wise. I know he's not been great. I will admit that, but yeah, probably, mate, probably.
Who would you play? Who else would you play? I know that people have said.
I know people are going to say Casey for that wing. I know McAteer is probably going to be. I think he would pick him, but when you've got the threat in players that you've not had yet in Daka, in Shumare, who has only just really come into the team. I think whilst you've got players out who you know aren't going to be able to get in there, you've got to start and see how they do. I think against Chelsea, people are going to say it's not the right game to do it. Well, when is the right game? Because Chelsea is a team where if you
depends on how you want to look at it, doesn't it?
If Daka's job is just to run at their defenders and stop them playing out from the back, they're going to make mistakes, and that's where I think he would do well. Again, Mavididi on the other side. I think out of all the times where I've said Mavididi doesn't play well, I think this is the only game that I think he has to play because of the threat we were missing. And then I would, depending on if Vardy's fit, I probably would have played Daka up front if Vardy isn't fit. But if Vardy is fit,
Edward's not even getting a look in, is he?
No. And that's what I'm saying. Daka's just come back in, and Edward's still set third choice, basically.
Yeah.
He was
I
still
might
third
find a
choice when
spot for
Daka was
Edward in
injured.
my team.
He was still injured when he
Go
was
back
injured.
to my team real quick. Let me see.
Go on.
Let me see. I'm just thinking. If I take Cody out and put Edward up there, that can work quite well.
Yeah, a 3-1-2-4.
3-1-2-4. Yeah, that's like reverse football, isn't it?
There you go, do that. Put him up top and change him for.
I quite like that team. It looks quite good actually. Get rid of Cody. I don't want him up there. Let's put Edward in there.
There you go.
There we are.
Look at that.
Now that's a team to beat Chelsea.
Hey, if we beat Chelsea with that team, Christ.
You can thick it out a little bit. The left and right sides look at there you go. That looks a bit better. Put Ndidi and Winks a little bit out there. There we are.
There you go. It's
That is a good team.
I'm telling you about being more attacking. If that's how you do it.
I think this is like where the position that we're at. Obviously, I'm being a bit silly with my team. This is obviously not the kind of team I would play, but we're in a position where I think we do need to change things up. And this is the first season I think really well. I do struggle to think, well, where do we thicken out this squad with some of the players we have? And I am joking with this team. This is not what I would start against Chelsea, but your one's a very more realistic one. But we're in that same position where it's like, how do we improve as a team going forward, and how do we be more creative and better at the back? I genuinely think that at the moment coming up, and a lot of things, we have a lot more issues than answers. I don't think as a whole, from Steve Cooper, but the manager, the players, and also top and Rudkin, everyone running it from the top to bottom. I think there's so many issues that we're in a weird position. And yeah, that's my team. There you go.
It's very hard to pick because again, with the players we've got out, you have got to feel you kind of have got to put round pegs in square holes, whatever the saying is. You've got to put players out of position to make them fit. And the reason I've just swapped El Khanous and Tomorrow is because when we have seen Justin a lot of the time when he's basically isolated on his own because no one tracked back with him. Like when Bonatti's on the wing, he always needs to come inside, so there's no space here. So hopefully Tomorrow can do a job if he comes in to stop to help out Justin. But we know how sometimes Tomorrow doesn't do that. But go on then, Sam. Before we do finish, we'll quickly swap to your amazing team. Go on, score prediction with that team and score prediction with a normal team.
With that team, 8-0 to Chelsea. In all honesty, I think your team is probably the kind of team that I would actually do as well. Maybe a few different plays here and there, but I do think that is about right. Maybe, a couple of defending swaps, but attacking wise, I think you probably got it on the head with a lot of the positions and who we have available. I think someone said earlier, if we go to half time 0-0, that would be good. I would like it, obviously, to keep the score down there.
Yeah.
And again, if you're being realistic, a team like Chelsea who are flying, Enzo Maresca's, he's probably going to want to come and beat us and prove, prove some of the criticism, because I know some fans last season didn't really like his style and stuff like that. Myself, included. I wasn't a massive fan of his style, but I thanked him for obviously doing what he did and getting us up. So I'll give you two results. If I had my blue tinted specs on, a draw would be an amazing result. But realistically, I think anything under. There we are. Look, the boss has just chucked them. I think it'll be 5-0 to Leicester City and Daka with all 5 goals. No, okay. I'm gonna say, I'll say 2-2 draw on a good day, and if it's a very bad day, it could end up being 3 or 4-0. Couldn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I'd be the same with you. I think I'd take a draw. I don't think we're going to get anything more than that with the team we've got going out. But on the other hand, I think, in my personal opinion, Enzo could really run us over and give us a 3 or 4-0 pounding.
Let's be realistic. It's not Enzo. They should do it with a £1 billion team.
With this man playing as well.
He'll probably end up starting, won't he, tomorrow? But realistically, with the amount their team costs over £1 billion now, that they're pushing on a very expensive team that should be beating not just Leicester, who got promoted, and we're on a shoestring budget in football terms. They should be going out there and competing against, Liverpool's, the Man Cities, the Arsenals. They should be giving them a really good game with the amount of money they've spent, and they haven't really been in the past 2 seasons. With the amount of money they've chucked at the club. So, in realistic, they're a top 4 club with how much money they've spent, and that is really their ambition. I mean, hence why they've gone through about 17 managers in the past 3 years, because their goal is to be top 4. They're Champions League, Premier League winning clubs. In our lifetime, they've won it all. So
yeah, fair enough. Terence, last comment of the day, says, "Wonder if the new manager will be watching in the crowd." You never know, mate.
I think we can end it a little bit on Steve Cooper in and out talk a little bit about this game. Reedy, I know you probably are on the Cooper outside now. But I assume the Chelsea score, regardless, isn't going to change your opinion that much.
No. Even if we win, I like majority of what I've seen already is not for me. You can win games here and there, but in my personal opinion, the last couple of games, the games we've won, we've been very fortunate to win them or to come out with the 3 points.
What's this? This is game week 12. This is the 12th match in the league. Game. I said I'd give it until the 15th game mark and see where we are after playing what I would consider, I think, 2 very good teams in Chelsea and Man City, or another one, I can't remember. There's another good one. I don't think it's quite Man City. And then 2 teams around us in Brentford and West Ham. Brighton, that's what I mean. So if you've got Chelsea, Brighton, West Ham and Brentford, I said in those 4 games, if we're still outside the top 10, but obviously the ultimatum of the other clubs where, their next 4 games are considerably a lot easier than our next 4 games, that if it's in that position where we're still outside of the relegation zone and, we are doing okay, then I would keep Cooper. But if we are in the bottom 3 by the 15 game mark, I do think, unfortunately, it's probably time for him to go, just because we do need something to freshen up in the club. And I wouldn't necessarily blame Steve Cooper for the aspect, fair enough him for coming in when we had a points deduction and he actually wanted to try and do something for a club that's, in a bit of a mess at the moment. Will a new manager come and solve that? I think my thoughts is not really, but, because I think it's not always just down to manager. I do think it's down to large facts of, especially now with injuries, our squad just isn't good enough and the depth isn't good enough. But we'll see where we are, really. We've got like I said, 4 games for me, and then we'll see where I stand. And that team's obviously going to go and thrash Chelsea tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. There's a silly team, and there's your actual team.
Yeah.
But yeah, cheers, guys, for coming on. Sam, again, appreciate you coming in. And we'll catch you all on Sunday for the Aftermath show.
Are we going live tonight?
Yes, sorry. No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not.
No, okay.
Friday
no
tonight.
Live today.
Friday.
Yeah, I keep thinking it's Thursday because
Yes,
usually do this on Thursday.
Yeah, so
we've gone a day ahead.
Sunday is your Aftermath show. Monday is Phil's show. Talking about the up and coming games as well. And then again, Thursday for Fox's Focus. Appreciate you, Sam, coming on, and we'll catch you all on the next show. See you in a bit, guys.